Welcome back to our series, Questions from the Old Testament. In our question for today, number 6, we find it from the book of Ruth in the Old Testament, Ruth chapter 1, verse 21. And the question is, why call me Naomi? To give this question context, we'll read chapter 1 of the book of Ruth, beginning in verse 1. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. And a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi. And the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They went into the country of Moab and remained there. But Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. These took Moabite wives. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. They lived there about 10 years, and both Mahlon and Chilion died, so that the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law to return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the fields of Moab that the Lord had visited his people and given them food. So she set out from the place where she was with her 2 daughters-in-law, and they went on their way to return to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go, return, each of you, to her mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband." Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, "No, we will return with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Have I yet sons in my womb that they may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say, I have hope, even if I should have a husband this night and should bear sons, would you therefore wait till they are grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is exceedingly bitter to me, for your sake, that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me." Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me from you." And when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more. So the 2 of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. And when they came to Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women said, "Is this Naomi?" She said to them, "Do not call me Naomi. Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi, when the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me?" So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned from the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest. Our question asked today, why call me Naomi? You may recognize this song. Gloom, despair, and agony on me. Deep, dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Gloom, despair, and agony. That was a popular little ditty of a song on a TV program many years ago. In the short segment, each person would take turns lamenting at the bad turn of events that had come upon them in a rather comical way. The audience would get a good laugh over their rendition. For the vast majority of people, you won't find much, if any, humor found in the calamities of life, and for good reason. Perhaps we have all had something bad happen to us, a fender bender, a job loss, or an illness, or other relatively minor happenings. And I say relatively minor because when compared to others who just never seem to catch a break, ours do seem rather less severe. I walked through a cemetery recently near my home and noticed 5 grave markers of siblings who died, all under the age of 19. Cannot imagine the pain of their parents. I'm sure you know of people in your circle that have experienced losses beyond what we can imagine. Naomi, in our passage today, has experienced just such a life. A famine forces them to leave their home and settle in a foreign land. One by one, a husband and both sons die. What do you tell people when you return home? The name Naomi in Hebrew means pleasant, a delight, or splendor. Naomi, or as she desires to be known, Mara, which in Hebrew means bitter, has connected the dots in her own mind and laid this at the feet of the Almighty, Shaddai. It is His doing that she has lost everything and believes it is for her sins that such has happened. Well, she's half right. It was the Almighty's doing, but not for her sins, but really the sins of the whole world. But how could she have known that, having only seen the devastation that surrounds her at the time? Naomi couldn't see it then, but she will again be happy. Joseph couldn't see it in Egypt, but he would be happy again. The disciples couldn't see it that sad day on the Passover when their Savior died, but they would again be happy. The church in Revelation might not have seen it in their tribulation, but they would be happy one day. You and I might not see it in our lives, the struggles and trials that we endure. But James tells us in his letter some very promising results of our trials. In James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4, he writes, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." And I wonder if I can see the blessings and the bitterness of today's trials. And Lord willing, let's meet again tomorrow and look at another question from the Old Testament.